Hey everyone. Um, tuned in time. I'm just still keeping it monthly, still keeping it a little bit more relaxed instead of like a regular show. But this is something I wanted to talk about ever since I heard about it. And basically Netflix has decided to make a sequel series of the 1990s computer-generated adventure series Reboot. Now, in the real short answer is it sucks. But I'm going to get into that. I'm going to explain the original Reboot, what I loved about it, how this one fails, and how we could have and possibly deserve better. But first, a little history. You know how it is if you've seen other Toon'd in episodes. I talk about that. I'm foregoing the whole entry sequence. Like I said, relaxed. But back in the 90s, one of the first purely computer-generated television shows was Reboot. And it took place in a fictional world called Mainframe. And Mainframe, basically, it was the inside of a computer. And every little aspect that we knew about 90s computers became a part of the series. I even had a main character. The main character, or sort of the main character, was even an antivirus program, a guardian named Bob, who I have a action figure of. I dug around and found him earlier. It was kind of neat. I actually still have that guy. But Bob was neat. Yeah, he was a good protagonist. Little bland, but not much. But he was exactly what was needed for the series. A little bit of humor, but just enough. But there was a special charm to Reboot. And something that this sequel, and it is a sequel, not a reboot, but something that this sequel fails so hard. And one of the big charming things about Reboot was the way Mainframe worked. And the way Mainframe worked, it could have been your computer. It had an almost Toy Story secret life of programs kind of thing going on. It's a whole world we couldn't imagine. It's inside your computer. This sequel tried to over-explain things by actually seeing more of the real world and where Mainframe actually is as an old mainframe computer inside a school. No. See, that ruined the whole, it could be your computer. It ruins that. Because every once in a while in the original series, a GameCube, a big pillar of energy, would come down on a section of mainframe, and that would be a game that was made by the user, a godlike entity in the original series. That you play the game, the people of mainframe had to play this game, they had to win. Because if they didn't beat the user at this game, they would be nullified. They'd be turned into these little tiny slug-like things and basically made useless. And the entire section would basically be a petrified area of mainframe. It was terrifying. And it honestly, as a kid, made me feel guilty for beating computer games. I actually felt bad for a long time. And that effect is lost. That effect is completely lost in the sequel series. It's not your computer anymore, it's just this computer over here. So you don't feel bad. And this loses some of the magic. The sequel series also openly insults the fans of the original show, which I never understood. Why attract an audience? Why make a sequel to something? Why use the brand of something if you're just going to use the old fans of that show? If you're just going to insult the old fans of that show? Why even bother with the brand? It's not to attract the viewers. It's not to attract the old viewers. You just insulted them and made them leave. Because now they're ticked at you. It's not to attract new viewers. New viewers don't even know about this old series. So, why use the brand? That's never made sense to me. But, 10th season, 10th episode, end of the season finale, the end of this first season on Netflix of the sequel, they were introduced to the original user. As in the user from the first series. And he's surrounded in Reboot merchandise for no explained reason. So it's got a confused thing of, was this a show? Was this a show, or was this actually a thing? Yeah. That didn't make any sense. But he mentioned, oh, maybe I'll actually win a game for once, when he found out that Mainframe was back online. And, which isn't true anyway, because in, a few episodes, I mean, to show what even would happen, the user had won games in the original series. That has happened. And, here's where the insulting comes in. The insults come in. The user is basically the stereotypical live with his mother, middle-aged loser nerd. Which, hasn't been true for a very long time. That's not really been the typical truth about nerds anymore. It still happens. Yo. But it's not common. Or it's not as common as it used to be. And among other things, like completely forgetting the second season of Reboot ever happened. Because when they go back to Mainframe in the sequel, they reintroduce the character of Enzo, and he's a little kid again. We haven't even met Andrea. And it's like, so that season never happened, which, to be fair, I understand a lot of people didn't like that season of the original series, but regardless, I am not a fan of the new Reboot at all. I mean, that's needless to say. And I'm actually of the opinion that we should form a movement if possible. It's like, I don't expect it to cause much momentum starting from me, but I am going to start leading the charge on my own personal Twitter. That's Toon'd on Twitter. That's my thing, if you didn't know. But I'm going to start with the hashtag, and start up with this hashtag Reboot. Because I think, knowing what we know now of technology and the internet and everything, we could make a great new Reboot series from scratch, starting over with our new understanding of how things work and how, with technology being better, so everything looks so much crisper, so much nicer. We can make a great new Reboot series with the same premise. the secret life inside your computer. Oh yeah, you could connect it to the internet. What computer isn't connected to the internet now? Of course you can. I could picture stuff spilling, random things are spilling out of this data cloud. Because it's a cloud, and it's storing, files. I can think like there's a storm coming through, and it's a cloud, so it could have an episode involving that. You could do a whole bunch of course you have the viruses of megabyte and hexadecimal, which, in the original series, they represented two different types of viruses. It's like the far more proactive, in-your-face, take over everything megabyte, and the sneaking back in the shadows, scheming, twisting things to her own machinations, like a witch, that she was portrayed as, hexadecimal. And, it's like, there's so much that could still be done. So much that should be done. So, that's about all I got, I guess. I mean, I could go into boring history, but I've pretty much been pouring my heart out in this episode, just ranting about the past, the current series that sucks, and what we should probably do about it. And, it's like, down with the sequel. Down. And let's actually get a reboot. Let's hashtag reboot. And, maybe we'll see ya. Maybe I'll see you there. Maybe I won't. Lately no one's been seeing me, or hardly anyone's been seeing these videos, but, if I draw an audience, fine. If I don't, fine. I said my piece. And, until I come up with the next, topic, until I have something to talk about next month, this has, of course, been Josh the Fox Mills. And, as always, stay tuned.